A naval fleet of 50 destroyers, cruisers, and aircraft carriers spreads across 20 square miles of open ocean. Millions of tons of steel, advanced weaponry, and 15,000 trained sailors, they're unstoppable. But then, something rises from beneath the waves, something ancient, something that controls the entire ocean. Aquaman emerges from the water, trident in hand, ready to unleash the sea itself against them. So what happens when one man commands the full force of the ocean against the most powerful military armada? Can he actually stop an entire naval fleet? Or is it just hype? Well, it might be more complicated than you think. Aquaman's arsenal. Arthur Curry doesn't have armor like Iron Man or strength like Superman. What he has is something far more dangerous. Complete control over every living creature in the ocean. We're talking thousands of them. Great white sharks, giant squid, humpback whales, sea snakes, barracudas, and creatures we probably don't even have names for, all responding instantly to his mental command. His trident isn't just a weapon, it channels the ocean's energy, water pressure that can rupture steel hulls, summoned tidal waves that can capsize ships. The trident lets him hurl water with the force of a battering ram, and he can control the currents themselves, creating whirlpools that suck vessels down. Aquaman's telepathy works across hundreds of miles underwater, giving him total awareness of what's happening beneath the surface. The naval fleet has no idea what they're about to face. The naval fleet. This isn't some random collection of ships. It's a modern strike group. 4 guided missile destroyers carrying Tomahawk missiles that can hit targets 1,000 miles away. 3 cruisers loaded with air defense systems and radar that can track hundreds of targets simultaneously. 2 aircraft carriers with over 200 fighter jets ready for launch. Supply ships, submarines, and support vessels round out the formation. The fleet's advantage is air superiority and long-range firepower. Their disadvantage is they're sitting on water. They're dependent on the ocean they sail on. Every ship, no matter how advanced, needs to float, and Aquaman controls what happens in the water. The odds are about 15,000 sailors with modern weapons against one man who literally commands an army beneath the waves. Let's see how this actually plays out. The first attack, 6 a.m. Aquaman surfaces 5 miles from the fleet's outer perimeter. Radar picks up a humanoid figure. Fleet commander thinks it's debris or equipment malfunction. By the time anyone realizes what's happening, it's too late. Aquaman raises his hand, and the ocean explodes. Hundreds of great white sharks breach simultaneously. A coordinated attack the sailors have never seen. They strike the destroyer escort vessels. Teeth tear through the outer hull. Sensors go haywire as multiple hulls rupture below the waterline. The crews scramble to seal bulkheads, but the damage is already catastrophic. One destroyer starts taking on water. Aquaman doesn't stop. Thousands of barracudas, organized like fighter squadrons, slam into the cruisers. Their powerful jaws rip at exposed equipment on the sides of the ships. Communication systems fail. Navigation goes offline. The cruisers are still floating, but they're crippled. Then the giant squid arrive. 10 of them, each the size of a city bus. Tentacles the thickness of redwood trees wrap around the keel of an aircraft carrier. They pull. The carrier lurches sideways. 100,000 tons of steel tilts at an angle that shouldn't be possible. Personnel on deck slide across the flight deck. Jet fighters break loose from their moorings. The fleet's response is immediate and overwhelming. Anti-aircraft guns roar to life. Missiles launch, but there's a problem. Half the creatures are already beneath the surface, out of range. The other half are moving fast, unpredictably. Surface-to-air missiles that cost millions of dollars splash harmlessly into the ocean. Machine gun rounds hit nothing but water. A fighter jet launches and climbs to altitude. The pilot locks onto Aquaman and fires. A Sidewinder missile streaks toward him at 3 times the speed of sound. Aquaman raises his trident, and the ocean responds. A wall of water rises from beneath him, absorbing the missile's impact. The explosion erupts in spray, but he's protected. The creatures push forward. 6:30 a.m. The fleet is under siege from multiple angles. Sperm whales the size of moving mountains breach near the supply ships, their massive heads crashing down like hammers onto decks. Whale sharks emerge, not aggressive, but simply too large to navigate through. They tangle the fleet's formation, forcing ships to maneuver around them, creating chaos and separation. Moray eels, dozens of them, find their way into the intake systems of the destroyers. Pumps that cool the reactor systems get clogged. Engine temperatures spike. Vessels lose power and drift helplessly. The sailors are expert fighters, trained and disciplined, but this enemy isn't playing by conventional warfare rules. Aquaman channels the ocean's energy and summons a whirlpool. Not a massive tornado, but a controlled current that captures 3 ships at once. They spin helplessly. Crew members grip whatever they can. One cruiser's radar array snaps clean off. Another destroyer's stern lift completely out of the water for a full minute before crashing back down. The submarines that thought they were safe at depth discover they're not. Aquaman's sea creatures explore every layer of the ocean. Submarines that were hunting become hunted. A Los Angeles-class attack sub surfaces in panic after something massive collides with its hull repeatedly. The crew wasn't trained for an enemy that commands the very environment they operate in. The second wave, 7 a.m. them. The fleet tries to regroup and establish a defensive perimeter. They move closer together, thinking strength in numbers helps. They miscalculate. Tighter formation means less room to maneuver. One whale shark gets tangled in the formation and simply can't move. Ships try to avoid it, but it creates a traffic jam of multi-million-dollar vessels. Aquaman rises again, higher this time. His trident glows with energy pulled straight from the ocean. Tidal waves form on the horizon, not tsunami-sized, but real waves 30 feet high moving directly toward the fleet. The sailors watch it approach, and there's nothing they can do. The waves hit the destroyers first. Some vessels ride it out, but others take on water through every opening. Helicopter decks flood. Gun turrets jam from saltwater intrusion. The aircraft carrier's flight deck becomes slippery with seawater and seaweed. Planes that managed to launch earlier can't land safely. They're forced to divert to a land base hours away. Fighter support disappears. Giant octopuses coordinate attacks from below, reaching up and wrapping around anchor chains, cutting off escape routes. Sea snakes, thousands of them, rise up the sides of vessels. They're venomous, but more importantly, they're terrifying. Sailors see something moving across the deck, something that shouldn't be there, something that could kill them instantly. Panic spreads faster than the creatures do. Aquaman's limitations. But Aquaman isn't invincible. His creatures are animals, not robots. They have limits. Missiles that actually connect do damage. 3 jets manage to coordinate strikes against the larger whales, and while they survive, they're wounded and pull back. The creatures can be killed. A destroyer's guns, firing accurately, take down dozens of sharks and smaller fish. Aquaman can't be everywhere at once. While he focuses on the eastern ships, the western ones regroup and launch a coordinated attack. Tomahawk missiles streak toward his position. He summons dolphins to intercept, but some get through. One missile clips his shoulder. His armor cracks. Not badly, but it's damage that matters. If enough missiles connect, even Aquaman can be hurt. The fleet's submarines, working together, create sonar patterns that confuse his telepathic link with the creatures. For about 10 minutes, his coordination falters. The creatures are still attacking, but they're less organized. It's enough for the fleet to rally and push back harder. The turning point, 7:45 a.m. Aquaman realizes the Navy is adapting. Their weapons are working. Their tactics are improving. He makes a choice. Rather than a slow war of attrition, he goes all in. He releases his entire arsenal at once. Every creature for miles. Sharks, whales, squid, eels, rays, sea turtles, everything comes up. The ocean becomes a wall of life. The fleet is literally surrounded. Ships can't move without hitting something massive. Damage reports flood every communication channel. 3 vessels are taking on critical amounts of water. 1 destroyer is already listing severely. The aircraft carrier's propulsion is failing. 2 cruisers have hull breaches they can't repair in real time. The coordinated assault from Aquaman and the sea creatures is simply too much. The fleet doesn't stand a chance against an opponent that controls their entire environment. They can win individual battles, but they can't win the war. 8:15 a.m. The fleet signals retreat. Damaged vessels limp toward the nearest port. They suffered massive casualties. Half the crew is injured. 3 ships are still taking on water. Billions of dollars in damage. They're retreating from 1 man and an army of sea creatures. So, could Aquaman stop a naval fleet? Absolutely yes. The ocean is his domain. A naval fleet is powerful, but they're operating in an environment completely controlled by their opponent. It's not even really a fair fight. What do you think would happen? Say your thoughts in the comment section. If you really enjoyed this video, then like it and consider subscribing to the channel, as we will be bringing up more anticipated topics soon. And if you want to see if Spider-Man could survive a hunt by special forces, watch the video up next now. Thanks for watching.